At first, it looks like just another quiet night on the eastern edge of the war. No sirens, no explosions, no frantic radio chatter. The sky above the Russian-controlled territory is calm, almost peaceful. Trucks are parked neatly. Guards smoke cigarettes near the gates. Inside a massive concrete complex, thousands of tons of ammunition sit stacked in rows: shells, rockets, fuel canisters, enough firepower to keep entire front lines alive for weeks. The officers inside believe they are safe. They think the depot is too far from Ukrainian reach. They think the night will pass like every other night. They are wrong. Because far away, beyond the front lines, something has already been set in motion. No jets roar into the sky. No missiles streak upward leaving trails of fire. Instead, small machines lift silently into the darkness. They fly low. They fly slow. And most importantly, they fly unseen. These are not weapons designed to terrify cities with noise and shock. These are weapons designed to erase targets quietly, until it's too late to escape. For the men guarding the depot, the first sign that something is wrong is not an alarm. It's confusion. A flicker of light on the horizon. A distant thump that feels more like thunder than an explosion. Then another. And another. Within seconds, the ground begins to tremble. The air pressure changes. And suddenly, the night explodes into daylight. A massive fireball erupts from the heart of the ammunition depot. Shockwaves rip outward, flattening nearby structures. Ammunition begins to cook off uncontrollably. Shells detonate one after another. Rockets scream into the sky without guidance. Fuel ignites in towering columns of flame. The blast is so powerful it can be seen from kilometers away. Windows shatter in nearby towns. Cars rock violently. Soldiers run blindly, unsure whether they are under attack or witnessing an accident that has already spiraled beyond control. But this is no accident. This is a deliberate, calculated strike, and it changes everything. The target was not chosen randomly. The depot was one of the most critical logistical hubs supporting Russian forces in the region. Every artillery barrage, every missile launch, every sustained push on the front line depended on the supplies stored inside that complex. Destroying it doesn't just cause a spectacular explosion, it starves entire units of firepower. It slows advances. It forces commanders to rethink their plans. It exposes weaknesses deep behind what was supposed to be a secure rear area. And Ukraine knows this. For months, Ukrainian planners have been shifting their strategy. Instead of focusing solely on frontline clashes, they've turned their attention to the arteries of the Russian war machine. Supply routes, fuel depots, command centers, ammo storage sites. Because wars are not won only by capturing ground. They are won by making it impossible for the enemy to fight. The strike on this depot is part of that larger plan. What makes this attack especially significant is not just the damage, but the distance. This facility was located far beyond the active combat zone, well outside what Russian commanders believed Ukrainian forces could reach. Traditional artillery couldn't touch it. Short-range rockets were useless. And yet, it was obliterated with precision. That points to one thing: drones. Ukraine's growing drone program has quietly reshaped the battlefield. These are not the simple reconnaissance drones of the early war. These are long-range strike platforms, modified and adapted to carry explosives deep into enemy territory. They fly below radar coverage. They exploit gaps in air defenses. And they don't need to return home. Once launched, they become guided bombs with wings. Russian air defense systems are powerful on paper, but they are optimized to stop fast, high-altitude threats like jets and cruise missiles. Small drones flying low and slow are much harder to detect, especially at night, when operators rely on limited sensors and tired crews. By the time defenders realize what's happening, the drones are already diving toward their targets. In this case, multiple drones appear to have been used. Not one single strike, but a coordinated wave. Some likely acted as decoys, triggering defenses. Others slipped through. And at least one reached the ammunition storage area. That was all it took. Once the first explosion occurred, the rest was inevitable. Ammunition depots are designed to contain power, not chaos. When fire spreads from one storage section to another, the chain reaction becomes unstoppable. Even if every drone were shot down after the initial impact, the outcome would have been the same. The depot was doomed the moment it was hit. As flames engulf the complex, Russian emergency crews rush in, but there is little they can do. Secondary explosions make firefighting impossible. Every few seconds, another detonation sends debris flying into the air. The area becomes a lethal zone. Soldiers are forced to retreat, watching helplessly as months of stockpiled supplies are reduced to ash. And this is where the real impact begins to unfold. On the front lines, Russian units begin to feel the consequences almost immediately. Artillery fire slows. Some batteries go silent entirely. Commanders start rationing shells, saving them only for critical moments. Planned offensives are delayed. Defensive positions become vulnerable. The loss of one depot cascades across multiple sectors of the battlefield. Ukrainian forces, meanwhile, exploit the disruption. With Russian firepower reduced, Ukrainian units probe weakened positions. They test defenses. They push where resistance is light. Even where no ground is taken, the psychological effect is immense. Russian soldiers now know that nowhere is truly safe. Not the front lines. Not the rear. Not even facilities hundreds of kilometers away. This changes behavior. Supplies are moved more frequently, increasing logistical strain. Depots are dispersed, reducing efficiency. Air defenses are spread thinner, leaving gaps elsewhere. Every defensive measure creates a new vulnerability. And Ukraine is watching, learning, adapting. This is modern warfare at work. The strike also sends a message beyond the battlefield. It tells Russia's leadership that their assumptions are outdated. Distance is no longer protection. Concrete walls are no longer security. If a target can be identified, it can be reached. And if it can be reached, it can be destroyed. For Ukraine, this matters politically as much as militarily. Each successful deep strike demonstrates capability, to allies, to adversaries, and to its own population. It shows that despite resource limitations, innovation and strategy can level the playing field against a larger force. International observers take notice. Analysts begin to reassess the balance of power. Military planners study the footage frame by frame. How did the drones approach? From which direction? At what altitude? What defenses failed, and why? Every answer feeds into future decisions, not just in Ukraine, but in conflicts worldwide. Because what happens here doesn't stay here. The lessons learned from this strike will influence how nations protect critical infrastructure, how they deploy air defenses, and how they think about rear area security in the age of cheap, long-range drones. Back at the destroyed depot, the fire eventually burns itself out. By morning, nothing remains but twisted metal, blackened earth, and smoking craters. What was once a cornerstone of Russian logistics is now a scar. Visible from the sky, satellite images confirm the devastation. There is no hiding it. No spinning it as minor damage. The loss is undeniable. Russian officials may downplay the incident, calling it an isolated attack or claiming minimal impact. But on the ground, the reality is clear. Units wait longer for supplies. Ammunition trains are rerouted. Pressure builds along the lines. The war does not stop, but it becomes harder to fight. And Ukraine knows this is only one step. This strike is not meant to end the war overnight. It is meant to tilt it, slowly but steadily. To increase the cost of every Russian operation. To stretch resources thinner. To force hard choices. Every destroyed depot means another facility must be protected, another route must be secured, another weakness exposed. In the long run, that matters more than any single explosion. As night falls again over the region, the sky looks calm once more. But the sense of security is gone. Guards listen more closely. Radar operators stare harder at their screens. Commanders worry about the next target. Because now they understand something they once dismissed. The battlefield is everywhere, and the next strike could come from the darkness, without warning, just like this one did.